Welcome back, explorers of the unknown. You've just tuned into Blank Space, where the extraordinary meets the unexplained. I'm your host, Matt Blank, and this is my space. Today, we're cracking open some of the wildest conspiracy theories that have kept people awake at night for decades. From moon landing debates to secret bunkers under airports and even a robotic revolution. Oh yes, Tesla's Optimus robot is making an appearance today. We're diving into it all. And here's the kicker. You're seeing me as an AI avatar, powered by advanced tech and my cloned voice. Wild, right? Drop a comment to let me know what you think of the avatar experience. Your feedback could shape the future of Blank Space. And hey, if we use your suggestions, you'll get a free shout-out in the next episode and a mention of your choice. Now, you know the drill. Like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell because here in Blank Space, my space is your space too. Let's unravel some mysteries. The moon landing, an unparalleled feat of human achievement, or a Hollywood hoax? Let's break it down. Our journey begins in 1969 with one small step for man and one giant leap for conspiracy theorists. Yep, we're talking about the moon landing hoax. Since Neil Armstrong left his footprint on lunar soil, skeptics have been shouting, "Fake!" They claim NASA staged the whole thing to win the space race against the Soviet Union. Waving flags? Shadows at weird angles? These are just a few of the so-called smoking guns. But could the moon landing really have been a Hollywood production? Let's explore. Here's the deal. The scientific evidence supporting the moon landing is overwhelming. We're talking rocket tech, lunar samples, and photos that NASA didn't Photoshop because, well, Photoshop didn't even exist. But hey, if you want to keep the mystery alive, who am I to stop you?
4 forward, drift into the right a little. 30 seconds. Looks like Neil is coming in 5 by there. 11, Mike, see you in the background.
If you don't believe that humans ever landed on the moon, you'd probably think that on July 16, 1969, a select group of government officials, a crew of filmmakers sworn to secrecy, and a famed Hollywood director named Stanley Kubrick all gathered on a soundstage in a military base, deep in the Nevada desert, better known as Area 51. And here they pulled off the greatest hoax in history. You'd probably think that astronauts, or should I say actors, Buzz Aldrin, Neil Armstrong, and Michael Collins fled this rocket through a secret passageway just before it took off for space, totally empty. And you would have to believe that the estimated 400,000 people who were involved in this mission were in on it, all promising to take this secret to their grave. 22% of Americans either don't believe that we landed on the moon or harbor some doubt.
To advance the technology of spaceflight,
We looked at the tapes and the countless photos. We talked to astrophysicists, meteorologists, and NASA historians to better understand the moon landing conspiracy, how it started, what hoaxers use as their evidence, and what this belief teaches us about why some conspiracies are so enduring.
Armstrong is on the moon. Neil Armstrong, standing on the surface of the moon on this July 20th, 1969.
That's one small step for man.
All right, so to give you some context on the moon landing, I need to briefly explain World War II and the Cold War, which is something I've kind of done a lot on this channel. So instead of me doing it again, we hired someone with an old-timey, radio transatlantic accent to do it instead. Buckle up for this one.
In a world on the brink of destruction, the United States of America joined the Allied forces in the Second World War in 1941. The Big Three, the Soviet Union, Great Britain, and now the USA versus the Axis powers, Italy, Japan, and Nazi Germany. They sure did put up a fight, but the Allied powers came out on top, you see. But then America and the USSR got real cold with each other. A tragic reversal of the old tales of enemies turned lovers. The communists found the United States to be exceedingly aggressive and quite trigger-happy with all their new military power, meddling in things they ought to be keeping their noses out of. Across the pond, the capitalist United States was fearful that the USSR was hankering to spread their communism across the whole globe. The war remained cold only because both powers had thousands of the most deadly weapons humanity had ever seen and wouldn't dare use them against each other. It was something of a horrifying stalemate. Soon, the empires turned to other feats of strength: psychological warfare, spying, sports, proxy wars, and a race to advance their technologies. And to top it all, a race like no other. A race to space.
At first, it is very clear that the Soviets are winning the race. They're launching dogs and plants into space and bringing them back alive. They send up satellites that orbit the moon and take photos of the far side that no one had seen before. They even put a human up into space to orbit around the entire Earth.
The first spaceflight would be made by a Soviet man.
The US needs to catch up, so President Eisenhower creates a brand new government agency dedicated entirely to space. And they eventually start to send up satellites and even people, but they don't get someone to orbit the entire Earth like the Russians did. Womp womp, the US is losing the space race. And this is where JFK gets up in front of the nation and declares that the US is setting a goal.
In this decade, we shall make up and move ahead.
He's declaring what would surely be the ultimate finish line in this global race for power.
We choose to go to the moon in this decade.
An American astronaut eventually orbits the Earth.
Not because they are easy.
Russia then puts the first woman in space while also getting the first person to walk in space.
But because they are hard.
The NASA teams are pulling all-nighters year after year, trying to figure out how they're going to make good on JFK's big promise, to somehow get a man on the moon by the end of the decade. Things are heating up. Time is running out. And then...
Launch sequence engaged. We are go. Did you read it?
NASA's disaster was a major setback, but the stakes were too high to give up. The space race had become much more than a technological rivalry. Winning the race to the moon would mean winning the ideological war for the world. Would it be communism or capitalism? They couldn't give up now, so they kept going. In 1968, NASA finally gets a spaceship, the Apollo 8, to orbit the moon with astronauts aboard. There's hope. Russia is able to exchange a crew in space. For both sides, a moon trip suddenly seems within reach. But who will get there first?
I, Richard Billhouse Nixon, do solemnly swear.
And then, after hundreds of millions of dollars and countless focused hours by the country's brightest minds, comes a morning on a summer day in Houston, Texas in 1969.
10.
3 men buckle up.
9.
Hundreds of millions of people around the world find themselves glued to their television sets because the greatest achievement of mankind might happen. Then starts the 5, 4, 3,
2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff. 32 minutes past the hour. Liftoff on Apollo 11. Tower clear.
Here we got a roll program. Neil Armstrong reporting the roll and pitch program, which puts Apollo 11 on a proper heading. Roll complete and the pitches program.
The rocket heads towards the finish line, that pearly orb that humans had stared at and mythologized about, fixated on, and they're finally going to touch it.
Just say the word and I'll throw a lasso around it and pull it down.
4 days and 200,000 miles later, it's July 20th, 1969, months before JFK's deadline was up. 2 of the 3 astronauts disconnect from the orbiting ship and descend onto the moon's surface. And then...
There you go.
Oh, it's beautiful, Mike. It really is.
Oof. These fumes. The race had clearly been won. A line had been crossed, not just for the global superpower who did this, but for all humans who had just taken their obsession for exploration to new heights. But right away, after this event, even though it was broadcast on live television for the whole world to see, there were rumblings of doubt. About a year after the landing, you start to see newspaper articles casting doubt that any of this actually happened. 2 years after the landing, we see James Bond running away from a bunch of security guards through the Nevada desert when he somehow stumbles upon a secret moon landing film set, resulting in this moon buggy car chase thing through the desert. It was all a tongue-in-cheek reference to this budding conspiracy that the whole thing was faked. A few years later, a former US Navy officer and Apollo rocket technical writer comes out with this book.
I think it was an intuitive feeling that what was being shown was not real.
The book is a long evaluation of evidence that claims that we never actually went to the moon. This book makes the case that the moon landing was so political that the US, having failed to develop a feasible plan to get to the moon, pulled off this secretive staging of the event, all as a propaganda play to get ahead of the Soviets. And he emphasizes the point that, it's the Cold War, it's not that far-fetched that the US government would come up with some deception campaign in the name of beating communism, which is totally fair actually. But that's not evidence, that's just speculation. He does go on to present a bunch of photos and explanations that turn into the foundation of what would become a widespread theory that the moon landing was faked.
The lunar landings were more than likely fabricated.
Why wouldn't the moon landing be fake? Why wouldn't we fake that?
We did not land men on the moon.
The moon? Yeah, it's fake.
And I would bet my life on it.
This is actually the reason I wanted to make this video, is I wanted to understand what the foundation of this conspiracy theory actually was. The people who truly earnestly believe it, what do they think happened here? I'm not going to go through all of the evidence and theories here because they're kind of all over the place, but let me show you some of the major ones. The first major one starts here.
How come there aren't any stars in this photo? There's no atmosphere or light pollution on the moon. Shouldn't this photo look like this?
Well, it turns out that if you want to capture the stars, even on the moon, you have to open up your camera for a very long time and let a bunch of light in. Trust me, I know this because I spent months of my life trying to photograph a galaxy, and I learned a lot about how not to photograph stars. And let me just tell you, it's a lot harder than it looks. When I was doing that, I was opening up my shutter for 30 seconds, and I took hundreds of images just to get this one shot. So when you're on the bright moon, and you're trying to photograph a bunch of guys in bright white reflective suits, you're not opening up your shutter for a very long time. You're not letting in a bunch of light. There's basically no chance of getting a decent shot of the stars in this environment. But you get something. I mean, if you take the photo and blast up the brightness, you can kind of see some traces of the stars if you really need to do that.
Okay, but what about these shadows? Some of these shadows go this way, and some go this way. Shouldn't the shadows be parallel if they're all coming from one source, the sun?
Yes, the only light source in this photo is the sun. But you have to remember that light bounces off things, especially white things. So you have light bouncing off of lots of different surfaces, which is one reason the shadows look a little weird. Oh, and remember that you're looking at light that was filtered through a lens. A camera lens distorts the direction of things depending on how wide or tight it is.
Okay, but what about this flag? This flag is waving, but there's no wind on the moon.
Yes, the flag is kind of waving. But remember that this isn't a normal flag. NASA had to make a custom flag for the Apollo missions that had a horizontal rod right up here so that the flag wouldn't look like this. It had to look nice and American and patriotic. You had to be able to see it. So when the astronauts were sticking the flag in the lunar soil, the motion of that movement caused the material to move, and it kind of looks like it's waving.
Okay, but look how they're moving. This is so unnatural. It's almost like they're being pulled up by a wire. Oh, and look, did you catch that? That looks like a wire.
Okay, wait, just confession here. I was watching all of these conspiracy documentaries, like, while we were doing this story, and they're, like, incredibly tantalizing. This is the one that actually kind of got me. I was like, wait a minute, they are moving really weird. The motion is so off kilter. It looks like they're being, like, dragged by a wire. So to figure this out, we actually talked to a physicist and a meteorologist who helpfully explained just how different life in 1/6 Earth's gravity is. I mean, think about it. Our intuition for everything we know is calibrated to Earth's gravity. It's everything we've ever known. It's how our brains interpret the world. It's how our muscles calibrate to the world. So when you're watching these videos of these astronauts in suits that weigh 180 pounds, clunking around with their Earth gravity-trained muscles on the moon, you see some really weird movements. But I mean, who knows? Maybe the two scientists we talked to are actually in on it. Maybe they're some of the 500,000 Americans who are paid by the government to keep the hopes alive, all so that we could feel like America is better than the Soviet Union in 1969. Maybe. Could be. Okay, listen, I'm not going to go through every single one of these theories. There's a lot of evidence out there. Like, why isn't there exhaust on this flame? Or why did the Eagle lander not leave a crater? What about the radiation exposure that these astronauts would have gotten? What about Neil Armstrong's boot print? Now listen, I want it to be clear that you should not be ashamed if you actually want answers to these questions, especially in a time where all of us are kind of renegotiating our relationship with trust in governmental institutions. But I will tell you that after earnestly looking into this stuff, none of the presented evidence comes anywhere close to the burden of proof and evidence I would need to see to believe that the moon landing was a hoax. If you're going to go down this rabbit hole and indulge your conspiracy mind like I did for this story, let's talk about what people think actually happened here. Like, all of this footage and all of these photos, what do the moon hoaxers think we're looking at? One of the most common explanations is that the US, afraid that they would be embarrassed in front of the global stage because they would fail on JFK's big promise, hired a famed Hollywood director, Stanley Kubrick, who had just released a groundbreaking space movie, and they used his visual skills to deceive the world, filming the moon landing on a soundstage in the middle of the desert. I mean, look, this rock has a perfect C on it. Is that a prop? These misaligned shadows, they explain as studio lights. The flag was waving because there was air conditioning in the studio, and these photos were actually taken by Stanley Kubrick's crew. All of these movements, they say, were done with wires and slow motion. And that black starless sky is just a black cloth backdrop.
It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
In 1977, the conspiracy theory had spread enough that NASA had to come out and issue a fact sheet responding to the claims. The first sentence of which is just, yes, astronauts did land on the moon. But then a movie comes out in 1977 about the government faking a space mission, this time to Mars, to save face to the American people. But the space race was over. It wasn't the focus anymore. And eventually, so was the Cold War. This moon landing theory became more and more fringe. But inevitably, like any other good, tantalizing conspiracy theory, it was eventually repackaged and put into one of these really spooky, cheesy cable news documentaries. In 2001, Fox News aired this documentary.
On conspiracy theory, did we land on the moon?
It was basically just a repackaging of all the old theories, but for a new audience. But now it was the dawn of the internet age, and NASA had to respond to this Fox News doc by reissuing the fact sheet that they issued in 1977, but this time on a website. An innocent foreshadow to combating information on the internet. They had no idea what was coming. The doc gave the conspiracy new energy, new followers. And soon, a conspiracy theorist was following Buzz Aldrin around a hotel, pestering him and demanding him to swear on the Bible that he landed on the moon. And Buzz punched him in the face. Shortly after that, a French mockumentary came out, laying out evidence that Stanley Kubrick did film the moon landing. The problem is, people thought it was real.
There's a fake documentary, not a real documentary, but a fake, like a mockumentary, where he's admitting and people are talking about. Have you seen that one?
No, but that makes sense.
Yeah, a lot of people are like, dude, you didn't even know there's an actual real interview with him where he admits that he faked the moon landing. But it's not.
Yeah.
It's fake.
So today, the conspiracy lives on in a world of increasing science skepticism and on an internet that fuels pretend information, and to a demographic that is more and more mistrusting of institutional knowledge. One poll found that in 2019, 11% of American millennials believed that the moon landing was staged. It's become a particularly durable conspiracy theory because it has all of the ingredients of a good conspiracy theory. It's shadowy government antagonist with political motives. It leans on the human eye and brain as the primary measuring tool for the evidence. And when you believe in stuff like this, it feels good, like you're in on a secret. So let me just end this video by telling you why I know we landed on the moon.
You are looking at a very thin section of moon rock, magnified 500 times.
First off, we brought back 900 pounds of rocks during the Apollo missions. The Soviets, who were our technological and geopolitical enemies, eventually sent a robot to the moon to collect samples of their own. These precious rocks are sent out to scientists and educators 400 times a year to be studied and examined. And it has been verified by a lot of different people who have no motive to lie that these rocks were developed in an environment completely rid of oxygen. Also, the Soviets themselves corroborated the moon landing and acknowledged that it happened. I mean, the Soviet leader kind of begrudgingly complimented the US and they published like a tiny little blurb in one of their newspapers, but like, they lost and they admitted they lost. Also, if I'm gonna rely on just my human brain logic for a second here, think about it. There were hundreds of thousands of people who were involved in the Apollo missions. Scientists, engineers, physicists, policymakers, mathematicians, all working day and night towards this goal, obsessing over every detail and then monitoring every step of the way, from Houston, Texas to the surface of the moon and back, communicating with the astronauts the whole time. So imagine 2 Texas Motor Speedway stadiums full of the brightest minds in the country, all in on the biggest deception of all time, without a single leak. And finally, if you insist on using your eyeballs as your only sensors that you will accept as proof, just look at this. This photo was taken by a telescope orbiting the moon. These are astronaut and buggy tracks here on the surface of the moon. You can even see the buggy's parking spot right here. And if you think that this photo, that yes, was originally taken by NASA, but many other photos have come out by other space stations that show physical evidence of the humans on the moon, if you think that this is still the government, like 40 years later, the kids and grandkids of the Apollo people still photoshopping pictures to keep up this elaborate ruse, I don't know what would convince you.
Now, let's take a flight of fancy, or paranoia, straight to Denver International Airport. From hidden tunnels to ominous art, Denver's airport is fueling some wild rumors. This isn't your average airport. No, no, no. Some say it's a front for a massive underground bunker. And if you've ever seen the glowing blue horse statue out front, lovingly named Blucifer, you might just believe it too. Oh, and let's not forget those apocalyptic murals inside the terminal. What kind of airport decor screams doomsday art? Denver does. Maybe Denver is just quirky, or maybe it's hiding the world's largest fallout shelter. Either way, the conspiracy theorists have their boarding passes ready.
According to some, bizarre signs and symbols at the Denver airport are evidence that the New World Order manipulates everything going on in the world. Supposedly, the New World Order is a sinister organization that counts world leaders and the richest of society among its members. This shadowy syndicate is said to be planning global domination. Its very existence may have been inspired by an older secret society called the Illuminati, which was founded in Germany in 1776. People say both the New World Order and the Illuminati had the same mission, to take over the United States. By the 20th century, Adolf Hitler used the phrase New World Order to describe Nazism. President Woodrow Wilson, Winston Churchill, and even George H.W. Bush used it to refer to a global power shift that would usher in a new age of peace. Today, many say the mission of the New World Order is population control and world domination. Frightening prospects that I want to learn more about. So, Greg, before we talk about some of your theories about the Denver airport, tell me about the New World Order. What is it?
Well, what most people think the New World Order is that there's going to be a global takeover. They're going to dissolve all countries, and we'll be under a fascist state.
So how would they implement this plan? You're talking about taking over the whole world or control of the whole world. How would they do that?
Well, there's either going to be economic collapse, global economic collapse, terrorist attack much bigger than the World Trade Center, some kind of emergency, and the military's going to move in under the guise of a humanitarian effort.
But you realize some people are going to look upon these claims as a little crazy.
That's fine.
What you're talking about sounds almost like Nazi fascism.
Well, let me show you something. This is the runway for the Denver International Airport. Now, I want you to tell me your gut reaction to this picture I'm going to show you. Don't think about it, just look at it and tell me what you see.
What I see is 4 runways that are arranged in the 4 directions, and it looks like a swastika.
Right.
You know, Greg, on the internet, they talk about that symbol and that it's a subliminal message from the New World Order. And, you know, this isn't the only one. There are many symbols that certain groups have put out into society, hidden in plain sight, if you will. And we're talking about groups like the Freemasons.
Absolutely. They're a big part of the powers that be. When I say powers that be, New World Order, globalism, the Illuminati, all the same thing. But it's only at the very highest tier of the Freemasons.
You know, I remember when I was at the airport, I saw a Masonic capstone. You know anything about that?
Yeah. I've got this picture right here of it. Down here, it's called the New World Airport Commission, as in the New World Order Airport Commission. This is a secret society doing the capstone at the Denver International Airport.
Okay.
Now, who in the hell wants a secret society doing the capstone at an airport? They've got a secret. Everybody's sitting around here, you know, watching Wheel of Fortune, whatever, you know, going out and doing their big screen TV, completely asleep to what's going on, just like in pre-Nazi Germany.
Scott? Are you Scott?
Daisy, hi, how are you?
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Thanks for coming out here today.
You bet.
I'm investigating the New World Order, and I've talked to a number of people who strongly believe that there is evidence here at the airport.
We have heard these stories ad nauseum since the airport opened in 1995. We have heard that there is a secret underground society, that there are alien structures, that there's underground runways. So many stories. People question our murals, they question our art, they question our baggage system, everything that we do. And I'm afraid that there's not a whole lot to many of these stories.
Well, I can appreciate your viewpoint, but if there is no connection to the New World Order, why is it that the Freemasons have placed a capstone here that says New World Airport Commission?
It's the New World Airport Commission. It was a group of civic leaders, business leaders, political leaders that all came together to help fundraise and plan a number of pre-opening events before the airport even opened.
New World Airport Commission.
Exactly.
Well, there's the compass in the square. Definitely the Freemasons were involved here.
This isn't uncommon. The Freemasons regularly lay capstones or cornerstones at public buildings all across the U.S.
What about the secret tunnels I've heard so much about? That there's also a base down here that's supposed to house this elite group of people when all the world gets decimated and the population gets reduced, and they're all going to come right under here.
Do you think we could conceal this from the 53 million people that go through this airport every year, from the thousands of airline workers that work in the baggage tunnels every day?
One way that we could answer that question is if you'd let me go down there. Would you show them to me?
Yes.
All right, let's go.
Let's go.
right, Stacy, what do we have here?
So what you're seeing now are the remnants of what at the time was a state-of-the-art baggage system when the airport was built in 1995. This baggage system runs all through the tunnels under the airport, and it's not in use anymore. It was very expensive. It took a long time and was fraught with problems to really get functional. And then at a point, we just abandoned it.
People have mentioned to me more than once that there are secret underground tunnels here. And they insist that they're here, not just here, but below here, and perhaps an underground bunker.
There are so many theories out there and ideas of what's going on in these tunnels that there's some sort of psychological warfare testing going on here. Or probably one of my favorites is there's miles and miles that connect to Cheyenne Mountain where NORAD is in the Colorado Springs area, another secret underground bunker.
How would we know that? I mean, it could be hidden perhaps, couldn't it?
Well, there are a lot of people that work here. There are thousands of airline employees in these tunnels every day. This would be pretty darn hard to conceal.
I have a picture I want to show you. I talked with Greg Erickson, who showed me this picture. And I have to admit that I found it very interesting. He claims that the configuration of the runways looks like a swastika.
Well, I think if you were going to eliminate some of the runways, connect lines where none exist, yeah, you could make a swastika if you seriously had that in your mind. But this isn't even what our runway system is going to look like. This is a shot today, but once we get all of the runways built out, this is going to be a very different picture. So the infamous mural, right?
Yeah. Some people have suggested what that message is, that the New World Order has plans to depopulate the planet by using violence, and that you guys are part of some big conspiracy. What do you think about all that?
This mural in particular gets talked about quite a bit. We have two by the artist Leo Tanguma, and this one is Children of the World Dream of Peace. And it's a two-part mural. So what you just said, though, is a little backwards. You need to read it the other way. Start at the smaller piece, and you look at it, and you realize, no, this is where he starts his story. He talks about what's going to happen with violence, what's going to happen with war, and see its impact on humanity and society. Then you come over here, and you look at all of the children, all of the diversity, all of the happiness when they get rid of the violence, when they get rid of the war. And this is kind of showing what society should be, what we should be striving toward.
You know, after everything that I've seen here, you've been kind enough to take me below the airport to look at these tunnels, and I haven't seen anything as far as factual evidence that to me indicates that there's any New World Order planning anything in the near future. In fact, when I look at this mural, I see something here that says basically we're at a critical point in the history of our species. And depending on the decisions that we make right now, we're either going to have a bright future or we're going to have a very negative future. But it's up to us. And this is a very powerful message.
We can't talk conspiracies without shining a spotlight or UFO beam on Area 51. A secret military base or a galactic hotspot? Let's find out. This infamous U.S. military base has been the epicenter of alien theories for decades. UFO sightings, secret tech, and rumors of extraterrestrial autopsies. It's got everything a sci-fi fan could dream of. Officially, it's a testing ground for advanced military planes. Unofficially, who knows? But the fact that Area 51 keeps its secrets locked tighter than Fort Knox? That's enough to keep imaginations soaring.
Pilot Theo Chesley has reported one of the most significant and credible UFO sightings in recent Alaskan history. The incident caught the attention of author and researcher David Childress, who traveled to Anchorage to meet with Chesley and examine the evidence of his harrowing encounter.
Hi, Theo.
Hi, David. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. I understand you have a very interesting story to tell.
Well, I do, and it happened right here in this aircraft.
You've been flying here for quite a few years, right?
Yeah, about 35 years.
So when was this first occurrence?
Well, we had a flight back in October 2019. We were northeast of the mountain. We were probably 30 miles from the mountain. We spotted something in the sky. And this is what we saw.
Did it seem to have a cloud around it, or?
No, it had like a tail on it, a little bit of a wisp coming out of the back. So I'm looking at it going, okay, what is that? As we started to come towards the mountain and fly by it, this horizontal disc turned vertical and came over and sort of parked by the mountain and held its shape.
So it had been moving and then it stopped.
It stopped by the volcano. So I'm like looking at it going, okay, if this is a smoke ring, it's not going to hold its shape. It's not going to stop. It's going to dissipate. It held its shape the whole time.
And had you ever seen anything like this before?
I'd been flying 35 years and 15,000 hours of flight time, most of them in Alaska, and I had never seen anything like this. Then we had something fly out of the mountain. Now the mountain...
A second object.
A second object. So this object flies out of the mountain. And at the same time, we're still watching the sphere that's vertically parked.
And it's like...
It's right over here. As a matter of fact, I'll show you another picture here that kind of just puts it all together.
Okay.
Okay, so then this appeared on the side of the mountain. This green orb shows up on the side of the mountain in a lower spot. The next picture we take, this is what happened to the vertical sphere in the sky. Something flew inside of it and pulled it out of shape. You see these two little, I don't know, there's like two little wings out there. And we like looked at that and I said, no, we're done here. We are leaving the scene here. And to be honest, my concern level was going about through the roof at that point.
Did it seem like a very large object then?
This is a big mountain, and this was something that caught our eye 40 to 50 miles away.
Okay, it's like 50 miles away.
So this had to be almost, I want to guess, half a mile wide.
Wow, that's fascinating. And, when it comes to UFO-type objects around volcanoes, that's a common thing.
Shifting gears to something futuristic and mind-blowing, let me introduce Tesla's Optimus robot. Yes, the same company that brought you electric cars is now creating humanoid robots. A robot designed to handle everyday tasks. The future is officially here. Optimus isn't just sci-fi, it's real, and it's here to revolutionize the way we live and work. Imagine a robot that can handle your chores, assist in factories, or even help with elder care. Elon Musk says Optimus could one day cost less than a car. Affordable robots? Count me in. But let's be real, if Optimus starts dancing like in the demo.
In just 2 years, Tesla's Optimus robot has evolved rapidly, undergoing 3 major design upgrades and 4 substantial hardware improvements, shaping it into a highly advanced humanoid machine. Optimus is now a common presence in Tesla's offices and labs, operating autonomously to perform tasks with precision and efficiency. Beyond the office, Optimus has also made its way into Tesla factories, handling complex tasks that were traditionally completed by human workers. Elon Musk is confident in Optimus's abilities, highlighting its response latency of only 20 milliseconds, 10 times faster than the typical human reaction and 2.5 times quicker than Boston Dynamics robots. This impressive speed raises exciting possibilities for the future of Optimus. One standout feature is its long operational time, lasting up to 23 hours on a single charge, thanks to its powerful 2.3 kilowatts, 52-volt battery. By comparison, other robots on the market typically last 4 to 8 hours before needing a recharge, putting Optimus in a unique category. While other humanoid robots like Boston Dynamics Atlas cost over $150,000 or Agility Robotics Cassie costs $250,000, Optimus offers nearly a full day of performance for under $20,000, making it a competitive option for businesses seeking reliable automation. In terms of intelligence, Optimus is powered by a custom-designed system on a chip in its chest, similar to the technology behind Tesla's self-driving cars. This advanced system enables connectivity via Wi-Fi and LTE, processing visual input from cameras in its head and touch sensors in its fingers to make quick decisions. Unlike basic robots that follow set commands, Optimus uses neural network training to respond dynamically to its surroundings. It also features a built-in battery management system to regulate charging and power distribution, maintaining peak efficiency throughout operation. In addition to its intelligent design, Optimus is notably efficient, completing tasks 30% faster than comparable robots and maximizing productivity during its operational hours. In a production setting, it can increase human productivity by up to 40%. Optimus's presence in factories and warehouses has the potential to transform work environments, offering smarter operations while significantly cutting labor costs. Optimus's power management system deserves recognition as well. It includes an intelligent energy system that adapts to the specific task at hand, ensuring optimal energy usage whether performing heavy lifting or idle activities. When in low power mode, Optimus can function for up to 48 hours without needing a recharge. Even when fully active, Optimus consumes about 100 watts per hour during standard movements and around 400 watts for more energy-intensive tasks, making it 30% more efficient than many of its competitors. Imagine Optimus autonomously handling package deliveries. By reducing human involvement in transporting goods, Tesla expects significant savings in logistics. Its combination of endurance, efficiency, and decision-making capability establishes Optimus as a formidable contender in the robotics industry. Priced under $20,000 for nearly a full day of operation, Optimus is a flexible and intelligent machine with wide potential applications. When it comes to processing speed, Optimus outshines even the fastest internet connections, reacting to commands in just 20 milliseconds. For context, Boston Dynamics Atlas takes 50 milliseconds, while Honda's Asimo operates at 30 milliseconds. Robots like SoftBank's Pepperlag with a 100 millisecond response time, limiting their performance in interactive situations. Optimus, on the other hand, leverages a neural network with 175 billion parameters, far exceeding existing AI models. Optimus's mobility is equally impressive, featuring over 200 degrees of freedom across its body, with 22 degrees dedicated to its hands alone. It can handle tasks as delicate as threading a needle and lift weights of up to 150 pounds, making it suitable for various heavy-duty activities. Each arm can handle a 10-kilogram payload, with a reach of 1,000 millimeters, allowing Optimus to tackle diverse tasks, from lifting items to opening jars with a human-like touch. Walking on two legs is no challenge for Optimus. Its dynamic stability algorithms maintain balance while walking, even on tricky surfaces. Reinforcement learning allows Optimus to adapt to new surroundings in real time, eliminating the need for specialized robots for different tasks. From vacuuming to shoveling snow, Optimus can handle a range of activities, reducing costs and simplifying operations. At Tesla's 2023 shareholder meeting, Elon Musk demonstrated Optimus's capabilities, showcasing its skill in navigating, perceiving, and manipulating objects seamlessly. Similar to Tesla's full self-driving system, Optimus uses a neural network to learn and adjust to new environments. A recent Tesla video highlighted an upgraded Optimus version, featuring advanced actuators and sensors that enhance its efficiency and adaptability across various settings. Tesla plans to train Optimus in real-world scenarios, using data from its vehicle fleet to further improve its ability to understand human environments and adjust to cultural nuances. For example, Optimus can be programmed to match local customs, like greeting family members warmly in southern U.S. households or communicating efficiently in fast-paced urban settings in the Northeast. Optimus can assist with more than just logistics. It could learn to cook traditional regional dishes and help with community gatherings. In urban settings, its high-end sensors allow it to navigate busy streets and public spaces with ease, avoiding obstacles 99% of the time. This allows Optimus to perform tasks effectively while avoiding hazards. Designed to recognize and respond to emotional cues, Optimus can facilitate natural interactions with humans. By detecting subtle emotional signals, it enhances communication, potentially paving the way for robots with a sense of self-awareness. Optimus's underlying AI can process and mimic emotional expressions, allowing it to build connections with people. Optimus's battery is a breakthrough in robotics, with an energy density of 300 watt-hours per kilogram, far exceeding the industry standard of 200 watt-hours. This allows for longer operation without adding excessive weight. Its Panasonic 2170 cells, also used in Tesla's Model 3 and Model Y, enable efficient space usage while ensuring high performance. Fast charging capabilities allow Optimus to fully recharge in 1 hour, significantly faster than Boston Dynamics robots, which can take up to 4 hours. With a lifespan exceeding 5,000 charge cycles, Optimus is built for durability, offering a cost-effective solution for a variety of applications. Charging Optimus is convenient, as it can wirelessly recharge on a compatible pad. Future solar charging options could enable Optimus to draw power from sunlight while operating outdoors, supporting Tesla's sustainability goals. Optimus is made from recyclable materials, emphasizing its eco-friendly design. Tesla also plans to introduce charging stations capable of servicing multiple Optimus units simultaneously, which would increase efficiency and reduce downtime. With up to 100 kilowatts of power, these stations will keep Optimus robots charged and ready to work quickly.
From the moon landing hoax to Tesla's Optimus robot, today's journey has been nothing short of extraordinary. Whether you're a skeptic or a believer, these stories make us question what's possible and what's just plain bizarre. Don't forget to drop your thoughts in the comments, especially about my new AI avatar. Like, subscribe, and stay curious because in blank space, my space is your space too. This is Matt Blank, signing off. Until next time, keep questioning everything.